Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. Let me just make sure that I'm sharing the correct screen here. There we go. Today, we're going to be talking about the board elections, the 2019-2020 SCA Board of Directors elections. We've got 8 candidates, 6 spots on the board. We'll be hearing from each of them today. We'll be going over the process for the elections timeline, and the candidates will be taking questions from you all. We have, let's see how many attendees. We're going to give everyone 1 more minute to join us, and we'll get started. Okay, so let's get started. My name is Vicente Partida. I'm the Comms Director at the Specialty Coffee Association. Before we get started, I want to introduce you to our panelists and each of our candidates for the 2019-2020 board elections. Just some housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to SCA News and the elections website. If you would like to submit questions, please, you can do so in 2 different ways. There's a question panel that you all should see if you've joined us on the web via the browser. And you can also use the raise hand function if you would like to ask a question using your audio during the Q&A. Again, there are 8 candidates, 6 positions on the board. This is an excellent opportunity to ask questions of the candidates about their qualifications and their experience and why they would like to be on the board. So definitely use that. So let's meet the panelists today. We've got Heather Perry, Vice President, Board of Directors, joining us on the phone. Hi, Heather.
Good morning.
Excellent. We've got Christina Meinl here, a Second Vice President of the Board of Directors. Hi, Christina.
Good afternoon.
And we've got Rick Reinhardt, Executive Director of the SCA. How's it going, Rick?
Good day, everybody. It's going well.
Excellent. So let's go over what we will be covering today. So again, 2019-2020 board elections process. We're going to go over an update on the process and the timeline. We'll meet the slate, meet the petition candidates. We'll have a Q&A. And then towards the end, we'll go over the voting process. Voting opens on November 1st. So let's take a look at the elections timeline. As you all know, a call for nominations went out in June, and we had dozens and dozens of SCA members respond to that call for nominations. Over the month of July, the nominations committee reviewed and interviewed each nominee, and they proposed a slate on August 30th. The petitions option ran through the month of September and it ended on September 30th. We have 2 petition candidates from that process, and we'll be meeting them today. The final ballot was announced in early October, and the elections will start on November 1st, and they'll run for a whole month. And on December 10th, we will announce the results of the elections. So from here, I'm going to hand it off to Christina, who's going to talk to us a little bit about, this is some content that we reviewed in our last webinar. For those of you who joined us, this will be familiar, but it's Christina will give us an overview of the SCA Board of Directors and what's happening with the elections this year.
Sure, so I would like to tell you a little bit more about the composition of the Board of Directors and the 6 volunteers that we will be losing on the Board of Directors, and then the 6 spots that we will be able to fill. So as you can see here, this is the complete Board of Directors. In green, you can see the officers. Okay. Did you want to? Okay. In green, you can see the officers, and the officers that stay on for the period are the president, the vice president, the second vice president, and the treasurer. Then we have directors, as you can see them here in light blue. Part of the board of directors are also staff members who now are the CEO and the deputy CEO. And then we have guild directors, because obviously they're very important that we also integrate the guild and hear the voices and hear our members. So it's the Barista Guild Chair and the Coffee Roasters Guild Chair. And then we have guests who are the Coffee Technicians Guild and the Coffee Producers Guild, which are guests at the moment, but their voices are absolutely being heard, and we welcome them very much in our board meetings, and maybe that's a structure that we could then change for the future to make them a permanent, have them a permanent place on our board. Okay, so how many seats are up for election this year? Well, let's look at the terms of each position first. So the bylaws, and they are on the website. As you can see at the bottom, sca.coffee/bylaws. You can read our bylaws. They're open to anybody to read who wants to. But the president, the vice president, and the second vice president each serve 1 year successive terms. The treasurer serves a 2-year term just to keep financial stability. We thought 2 years, well, it's in the bylaws, but it makes sense also to have financial stability to not only have a 1 year term. Then the guild directors each serve a 1 year term, and the seats are appointed by the guild themselves. So we don't have a say in who sits there. It's the seat that then gets filled by the guild. And then the guilds are formed after the approval of the SCA bylaws, participate as guests. So as I said, the ones that aren't fixed yet are the guest seats, but again, they're very welcome, and they are absolutely part of our board too. And then all directors may serve a maximum of 2 terms. Just means also that we want to keep up to date. We want to give new members the chance to be able to come board of directors, and it's important that we sort of have evolving community support. Okay. So what's happening now on the board in 2018 and 19? So on the 31st of December in 2018, our current president, Paul Stack, terms end. So he was actually in for 2 years because he was going to see the whole merger. He was going to work through all that. So that ends now. And our current vice president, Heather Perry, becomes president. Myself, I am the second vice president now, will become vice president, and Tracy Ging from the US becomes the second vice president. So we also move up the scale. Our current treasurer, Mary Telly, from the Heritage Association of the SCAA, her term comes to an end, and we will welcome Niels Eriksson, who is from the Heritage Association of the SCAE, becomes treasurer. Niels Eriksson used to also be treasurer in Europe before, so he's also a very experienced treasurer. Both of these treasurers we were very happy to have on board, and to have on board. They're very experienced financial people, so that's very good. I think I now hand over to Rick. No, we still go. Okay. So the 6 directors come to an end on the 31st of December, as we said, and so 6 slate candidates have been selected to succeed them, which means that the nominating committee, as you know from the last webinar, we interviewed a huge amount of people, and we really tried to find a fair selection system. And so we selected 6 slate candidates, and then obviously there have been added 2 petition candidates, which we find very exciting, that also the community has pushed forward 2 petition candidates. So we welcome them, and I think you will have the opportunity to get to know them today too. A second vice president is selected by the board every year, so that's what we're going to then proceed to doing in 2019. And the treasurer, as I said, Niels Eriksson will have a 2-year term, but also it makes sense also for consistency to also already select the next treasurer, so that that person has the opportunity to really work themselves into the finances of the association, and then the transition is a smooth one.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Christina. And just for everyone who's joining us here, here's just a visual representation of what Christina just described. These are the 6 director terms that come to an end on December 31st this year, and the 6 director terms coming to an end December 31st of 2019. Thank you very much, Christina. We're going to hear next from Rick.
Thank you, Christina, and thanks, Vicente, and welcome everybody. It's really my pleasure to introduce the candidates for the board for the 2019-20 term. As Christina alluded to, we had a fantastic abundance of qualified candidates, and the nominating committee went through the arduous process of trying to identify just 6. I can tell you that we would have liked to put 60 of those folks forward, but we put forward 6 names to the board as candidates for those 6 board seats, and they are with us today, or either live and in person or by videotape, I guess. We have tried very hard to increase the geographic diversity and the industry diversity of our board, so that we have solid representation, not just from the heritage organizations in the US and Europe, but that we've got folks from all other parts of the world. We also wanted to be certain that we had clear and present the producer voice that's so critical to our industry all the time, and it's especially a focus of our energy at this particular moment. So I would, in no particular order, welcome those 6 candidates who were put forward by the nominating committee. Asli Yaman from Istanbul, Turkey, Pamela Chng from Singapore, Katie Booser from Oakland, California in the US, Khalid Mulla from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Vava Angwenyi from Nairobi, Kenya, and Vera Espindola from Mexico City, Mexico. Welcome back. This is your second webinar with us. I also want to note that per the SCA bylaws and per US law, it is possible to nominate, for the membership to nominate a petition candidate outside of the nominating committee process. And with 100 signatures supporting that candidate, any member in good standing can become a candidate. And this is a part of our heritage is designed to make sure that we really pursue a democratic process here. And we welcome 2 successful petition candidates, Mbula Musau from Kampala, Uganda, and Nairobi, Kenya, and someone I'm happy to count amongst my coffee friends. Welcome, Mbula. And Seongil Choi from Seoul, South Korea, a longtime member from the Heritage SCAE in Korea. So I know nobody came here to listen to me talk, everybody came here to meet the candidates. So without further ado, I am going to hand this off to our candidates in the order that I see them on the screen, and say welcome and give you a chance to introduce yourself to the folks online.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Rick. Thank you. All right, so a couple of our candidates couldn't join us today, so Choi won't be online, and Asli also won't be able to join us. But Asli did send us some videos, answer to a few questions that we posed to the candidates. We're going to hand it off to Heather here. Heather, can you hear us?
I sure can.
Excellent. So Heather we'll talk to each of the candidates, and she's got a few questions for them. So take it away, Heather.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So just to start off with, if you guys can just introduce yourself to everybody online. Vera, let's start with you.
Vera, we can't hear you.
I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, I'm Vera, Mexican Dutch. I live in Mexico City. Sorry for that. I've been working in coffee for the last around 13 years. I started to work in researching the coffee value chain for Ana Café. And since then, I've been working on several sustainable coffee programs, primarily, and projects. In the last 3 years, I've been working for the national coffee plan, what we have here in Mexico. That's for the Secretary of Agriculture. It's like the ministry, basically. And we've been working on recuperating the coffee production here in Mexico, which has several elements. And we are almost finalizing the first 3 years, and then we are basically moving on with the new plan under the new ministry. I'm also working in the last 3 years on the Sustainability Center as a volunteer, and currently I'm leading the work at the Farmer Profitability and Prosperity Work Group. And we will be having a next webinar in the second week of November.
Thank you very much, Vera. Katie, let's hear from you.
Okay, it looks like Katie may not be online,
Okay.
but we'll reach out to her and see if she's having trouble joining. But let's continue.
Vava, are you online?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Hi, everyone, and excited to be here for the second webinar. I'd like to sort of describe myself as a global citizen, in as much as Kenya is home for me. I feel like there's a lot of similarities that we have as humans that live in different countries. I am both a producer, a trader, and very passionate young entrepreneur. I like to use the word young as much as I can before I cross over to the other side. But, with a lot of passion for empowering young people who are interested in taking part in the coffee sector. I run 2 companies currently, Vava Coffee and Gente del Futuro. And I guess we'll have more opportunities to describe what we do later on in the webinar, so I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Vava. Khalid, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Khalid and Mulla. I've been in coffee business for the last 8 years. I started my own company with the partners for 8 years. It's called Easternmen and Co. So the company exists for 8 years and covering the market from consumer all the way to enterprise customer. We're dealing with the green bean tradings, roasting, private labeling, and as well machinery. A part of my company, of course, I established the first coffee museum in Middle East and Africa, and we're well known of its member, basically. And most of the reports, when I started this museum, they say the coffee came back to its birth, which is the Middle East market, of course. And I've been part of part of my own business. I've been part of the organized committee in Dubai World Trade Center and the trade shows. So basically, we have the Gulf Food event, and we have SCA Abu Dhabi and the specialty food festival. So the coffee section was part of our responsibility. We run, of course, the championships, education programs, and seminars, and so on. And my involvement in coffee, basically from the whole supply chain. Also, I was involved in the DMCC project. So basically, DMCC is one of the investment wings of the government of Dubai. They're dealing with commodities like diamond, gold, and they have the center of tea. So side by side, that center of tea, they constructed the coffee center, which is going to be open in a couple of months, officially opened, and so on. I have been attending many trade shows, especially the coffee station shows, World of Coffee and AFCA as well, and visited many different origins, have good relationships with the FNC and other parts of the world as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khalid. Pamela, are you online?
Yep, I'm online. Can you hear me?
Welcome. We can hear you very well. Thank you. Go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Pamela Chng. I'm from Singapore. So I've been in coffee for about over 8 years. Co-founded a social business called Bettr Barista. And we've been using coffee as our vehicle to change lives since 2011. So we built an entire coffee business around this. Basically, we have a coffee academy, a coffee roastery, and 6 different retail outlets. And our main social program is really to work with marginalized women and youth at risk to give them skills in specialty coffee and give them the emotional and physical resilience to help themselves out of their own challenging life circumstances. So I've been volunteering with the SCA, SCAE, WCE since about 2013, station instructing, roasting barista classes. Also been involved in competitions since 2012, first as a competitor, then as a judge. Been head judging and sensory judging at the Worlds and coaching as well for WCIGS. So heading to Brazil in 2 weeks, trying to get a good result at the competition. Yeah, so coffee is a very, very important part of everything that I do.
Thank you very much, Pamela. And Mbula, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Hi, good day, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much, everyone who's joining online, SCA for organizing this. I'm a coffee lover and enthusiast based out of Nairobi, Kenya, serving the wider African region for the last 11 years. Rick mentioned that I'm from Kampala, Uganda. I've been there for 11 years, where I worked with the general regional coffee sector from Africa. I've been a coffee co-volunteer with the Coffee Quality Institute for 11 years, and I previously worked in the coffee retail segment in Kenya, at which point, as a company, we were one of the companies that signed the Eastern African Fine Coffees Association into existence. It's now known as AFCA, and this happened in the early 2000s. I am an entrepreneur. I hold a dealership license for coffee in Kenya, which enables me purchase, roast, import and export coffee. And also my entrepreneurship enables me to run the first SCA Premier Teaching Campus for education in East Africa. I'm a certified Q grader instructor with the Coffee Quality Institute for Arabica and an assistant instructor for Robusta, and an authorized SCA trainer of the SCA Coffee Skills Program. I'm also a trained World Coffee Events judge and was a WBC judge in 2009. Since then, I've been participating in the trainings and empowering youth to get involved in the coffee sector. I also work with coffee farmers through coffee quality improvement programs to help sustain specialty coffee production in Africa for the world. And this is through national and international cupping competitions, marketing and promotion programs with partners the world over since 2007, mostly at the SCA, SCAE, and SCAJ events. These, of course, enabled us to work together on many ways to partner and trade African coffee around the world, specialty coffee for that matter. I'm also an IWCA, International Women Coffee Alliance chapter facilitator for African chapters. I'm passionate about gender equity in the sector and actively involved in the formation and growth of these 7 chapters in Africa. I was a member of the SCA ad hoc committee on the deferred candidacy policy that just presented its results before the SCA event in April. And all this in summary to say that I work with the entire value chain, youth and women in coffee, government, private sector, community-based organizations, buyers, and individual coffee professionals who are eager to hone their skills in the coffee sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mbula. And Vicente, do we want to show the videos of our other 2 candidates?
Yes, so we gave our candidates who could not join us for this webinar the option to send us video recordings of themselves answering questions from Heather here. And we got videos back from Asli. So we're going to show Asli's introduction here. All right, there we go.
Hello, everybody. Hi from Addis. I'm sorry that I cannot join you today as we have day trainings here. Let me introduce myself. I'm from Istanbul, Turkey. I started my coffee career 12 years ago in Istanbul. And I had the opportunity to work in Russia around 5 years at Soyuz Coffee Roasting. In 2015, I moved back to Turkey to start my own project. But before that, in 2014, I competed in World Brewers Cup in Rimini, and I came third finalist. And at the same year, I had the privilege to join to SCA family as an AST for the roasting, green coffee, sensory skills, and brewing modules. Since that time, I give trainings around the world, including my country as well. In 2016, I started the KiMMA Coffee Roasters company together with a very close friend of mine. And we are visiting origin countries, giving SCA trainings in Turkey and also in other countries as well. We have a consultancy-based projects. And together with this, I'm also Q Arabica grader. I worked with SCA Turkey chapter as the education coordinator. And this year I have the actually privilege, and I'm very proud that I am nominated as one of the candidates for the board of directors.
All right, thank you, Vicente. So now let's move on to the next question and learn a little bit more about our candidates. So why are you interested in serving on the SCA Board of Directors? And Mbula, let's start with you this time.
All right, thank you. I'm interested in serving on the SCA Board of Directors because I find it as an opportunity to volunteer my experience in the spirit of diversity and inclusivity. Also, just having more of the birthplace represented. We all know that Africa is the birthplace of coffee, and we are all here because of coffee. I just feel like more of the birthplace should be represented in order to address issues that could be affecting the birthplace that have not always come to the fore as they should. I'm also interested to take part in this fast-growing industry at such a time as now when these issues are being addressed, meaning the issues of inclusivity and diversity. I feel like all my work and experience was actually meant for such a time as now. Yeah, there's an opportunity to serve right now, as has been created, and so I wish to stand up and be counted. I believe in going through the processes in their entirety. I'm glad that the system, the SCA system, permits this. So from the beginning of the process that was explained earlier, when I was nominated by SCA membership and went through the preparation and interview process, I came to the realization that it was not just about me or my company, but really a lot to do with the people who nominated me and wanted to see themselves represented in the board. So I feel I need to step up as much as I can and be allowed to ensure I truly represent those who nominated me and would like to have me represent their interests in the spirit of really making coffee better with the opportunities that I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pamela, why are you interested in serving on the SCA Board of Directors?
Sorry, just unmuting. Well, you know, coffee is my second act in life, right? So I spent my first act really in a diverse range of industries, in media and technology. So, and I think I've been able to apply a lot of these skills and knowledge to the coffee industry, you know, cross-pollinating ideas and approaches from different industries. So I think as my time now as a social entrepreneur, I really strongly believe in the coffee industry, right? As this really great industry for starting positive social change, right? It is an industry that's filled with so much passion and totally aware professionals, right? And if we can just harness this passion to try and create more impact, positive impact in everything we do across the value chain, I think we can really start to solve some problems, right? And stop creating new ones. So, I've been involved in the SCA in some shape and form since day one. I think the merger into one global entity presents a great opportunity to, really start to create a global voice with globally relevant solutions. Coming from Singapore and in my work, I think with all the students through the education that we do, I hope I can contribute important perspectives from Asia. It's really one of the fastest growing regions in specialty, especially. There are great talents coming out of Asia, great coffees produced here. So, I'd like to represent a lot of that interesting diversity that's coming through, both from and sides. And learn, from our friends all over the world, right? Better address our sustainability and production challenges. I think is a major thing right now. So, really excited to have this opportunity to contribute.
Thank you very much, Pamela. Yes.
Sorry, I know you're joining us by phone. I think we're getting some feedback. So if you don't mind muting yourself in between questions, I think that might help.
Sure. Khalid, why are you interested in serving?
Okay, interesting to join the Board of Directors, of course, because of the growing about the Middle East, to be part of the global, growth of the coffee industry worldwide, the specialty coffee industry part. So when we speak about the Middle East, we speak about the past, present, and future. If we're talking about the past, basically the coffee was discovered in this part of the world. And specifically, recently we found a discovery even in UAE, which goes back to the 12th century. And Mr. Tony Wild, the Coffee Dark History, he's investigating about this, which is going to be published also to the coffee media worldwide. So we have a great history when you talk about the Arabic coffee. Also, it was serving for 100 years, and now you see it in 5-star hotel. So it's like a simple sign of hospitality and engagement. Part of it and other parts of the Middle East, of course, you've seen the coffee growth in the Middle East markets. It's one of the fastest emerging markets in the world, unlike what's happening in Asia, and of course, and Melbourne, which is considered the specialty coffee capital in the world as well. So part of the growth in the Middle East market, especially in Dubai, as we all know, we have the Expo 2020. Basically, cities are coming up, and this is all good news for coffee. And this part of it, of course, we have to be engaged and get involved to help the whole supply chain in this part of it. We all know that our industry strongly relies on education, of course, and this is important basically for the consumer to learn, differentiate between the specialty coffee and the commercial grade. And since we know that the education plays a big role where you want to position your industry, basically, in order, part of it, of course, we have local ASTs and international ASTs, which we are investing in, and certified training centers, which we have many in UAE and Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and other parts of the GCC market or MENA market as well. So the way I see the SCA, it's truly a big organization that represents the interest from beans to cup, that showing the farmers, traders, roasters, cafe owners, and coffee enthusiasts. And the beauty about it is that every segment of our industry, there is an education program. So I was involved also in the Tea Forum. It's not like structured as the way we are globally. And so this is a great potential of, to help the whole supply chain in the Middle East market, and apart with support from the SCA, I'm sure that is going to benefit the whole industry by running trade shows, education programs, seminars, and workshops. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid. Vava, why are you interested in serving?
Hi. So I believe I offer a fresh perspective on what the future needs to be, because looking historically at how the coffee sector has managed itself, of course, there's many things that can be righted. And I not only offer a fresh perspective, I come with real data, because my company has invested in data collection in Africa, in the regions in which we operate, and data informs decisions that are progressive decisions and not just arbitrary decisions. So we bring data, we bring hard stories which are supported by data. And I bring a lot of passion from someone who has run a successful company in Africa, which is one of the hardest places to set up a business. I've been in this sector, and as a private entity, invested in education, in young people and in women for the past decade, and with new ventures that run to Colombia as we speak. So I am someone who is knowledgeable in not just the region in which we operate the business, and I've managed to extend the business to Latin America. And with, I would say, the fact that it is important for young people at origin to have relatable stories, people who look like them, but also people who are as passionate as them, and people who are there for the benefit of that community. And in as much as I've had a lot of experience volunteering in the SCA within the Sustainability Council, I've given my time at all SCA events in whatever capacity that was needed of me. I believe that I have that heart of ensuring that things are done. And when I commit to something, I ensure that there's a tangible result, no matter what the obstacles are. And that's what I would say, what we call gritty entrepreneurs. So I'm one of those gritty entrepreneurs that when I embark on a task, I will ensure that no matter what obstacles that are, out there, we at least are achieving or making some progressive strides. And I believe that aside from being a woman, aside from being an African woman, I offer a global perspective to my views. I have had the privilege of being exposed to different cultures, living in different countries, and made the decision to move back home to improve my country, but also to improve global economies where we have coffee. And most of the solutions we seek as an industry come from origin. And I strongly believe in the collaborative efforts of everyone within this sector. I have known to push collaborations, which is why we are operating not only in Kenya, but in Tanzania and in Colombia. So I believe as a sector, if we collaborate with each other, most of the questions or obstacles that we face as a sector can easily be dealt with. And we all need education, whether we are producers, whether we are traders, whether we are roasters, whatever sector you are in the coffee value chain, we all need to be educated in one way or another. So I believe with that and with informed data, we can, I have a lot to offer. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Vera, tell us a little bit about why you're interested.
Hi, thank you. I think I started with coffee a bit different than most people. When I started in coffee, I started to analyze the value chain in coffee at Ana Café. And at that time, I was drinking coffee with sugar and milk. So that was not a good start for me at Ana Café. But like within a month, that milk and that sugar was already kicked out of my system. But one of the things that for me was striking is when analyzing that value chain, I saw from that view, from the economics point of view, that there was a very small value being maintained at a producer or even said at origin level. And it was from there that I started to work much more with looking for sustainable value chain. And within those sustainable value chains, there are many elements in order to achieve that. But one of the things was for me also most striking, that these certain external factors that many times farmers are not able to control were those barriers. And what I saw when throughout that learning curve that I'm in, I saw very much that specialty coffee, purely from a data point of view, purely from numbers, is a very valuable fact, very strategic and valuable reason for farmers to, one, continue farming and achieve that specialty coffee, so to say. And it was also from what I saw, also that option in order to really obtain that sustainability. Now, having said that, I think the reason why I'm interested in applying for this position and being part of this is that I think when it comes to understanding that better, on listening in that sense to what the people in the sector need from an origin perspective, and I would say origin for me does not only include, as we just heard from the other candidates, it's not only about farmers or exporters, it's only the coffee shops, the baristas. But when you start listening to that, all those to that actors within the change, you can also hear that there also are more other elements needed in order to achieve really also that sustainable factor with specialty coffee. So I do definitely think that specialty coffee is a really strategic decision to go for farmers and for the other actors. However, I do think there are many other elements still that need to be incorporated in order to achieve that specialty coffee can also be that real sustainable factor. So my interest and my wish to also be part of this is to support the SCA within that, with the background that I have when it comes to having worked in several countries with several projects, be it more on the technical side, be it more on the processing side, and be it at one point also on the exporting side. And for what I think, what I've learned most in the last years, by also being a bit part of the national market here and consuming a lot of Mexican coffee, is understanding really what also baristas here face and the financial constraints they have on the wish to elevate their learnings and their education when it comes to coffee, and also the struggles that they have simply by maintaining their coffee shops. And I think that is a part that we can definitely learn from other countries, but also we can give the learnings back to others that wish so. So I think for me, it's the whole chain that needs to be more integrated. And yeah, I would sum it as that.
Thank you. And Vicente, do you want to show Asli's video again?
Yes, let's hear from Asli.
I believe Specialty Coffee Association is the unique board to have the right connection to the coffee world. The first moment I met with Specialty Coffee and its people, I understood that we will need to represent our values better with a more powerful and open society. Since that moment, I tried to be a good coffee ambassador by participating to the competitions, by representing the farmer and the people working at the farms, roasters and baristas. My aim is to bring this knowledge from the origins to the coffee communities where I have been visiting, in order to share this experience and all that effort spent by these communities to be on the SCA Board of Directors will give me the chance to build a stronger community.
Wonderful. And then the final question for all of our candidates today is, where do you see the SCA in 10 years? What's your vision for the association? So let's go ahead and start with Khalid.
We can't hear you, Khalid.
Sorry, my apologies. Okay, I see that the SCA basically in 10 years that it will be like interest of coffee community, corner of the globe from bean to cup that represents farmers, distributors, traders, roasters, baristas, and coffee owners that provide world-class education program integrated in one body, and of course having one voice, an equal voice for everyone, every part of the whole supply chain, or from which area they are coming from. I wish, and I see the attention of the SCA board at the growing of its members, and that stays true to the organization, and basically that promotes the interest of its member and providing a true measurable value for its member and the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid. Vava, where do you see the association in 10 years?
Hey, okay, that caught me off guard, but yeah. So in 10 years, my vision for the SCA is one, great budgets to allow the SCA to delve into projects that they would really want to do. So boost the fundraising strategies for the SCA and raise lots of money for them to go into places that they would love to but are limited due to budgets. The other would be producer representation, as an organization where producers feel included and to have products that resonate with producers. And I would love to see the SCA website with material that targets producers, because that is a large portion of the sector that currently cannot access educational material on the SCA platform. The other would be a greater presence in Africa. Africa is the place to be, not just now, but it's been the place to be for a while, and there's a lot of untapped potential in Africa. So I'd like to see the numbers go up, and with the first SCA chapter set up in Kenya in the next few weeks, if I can help it. The other would be, I would say a more vibrant place where young people also feel like they belong at the events, and for us to obviously be more inclusive. So in a nutshell, that's what I see.
Thank you very much, Vava. Mbula, what is your vision for the association?
Yes, where do we see the association 10 years from now? Africa is the region with the largest number of smallholder coffee producers in the world. Actually, more than 50% of the rural population consists of smallholder farmers, about 11 million of them. So one of the main things I would want to see is more involvement in producer countries of the SCA as a global association, not only on areas of education and events. Those are important, and I would want to see more of that, more affordable education, more events happening in Africa, SCA events for that matter, that are well supported, well attended, that really go a long way to show that we are part of the association as much as everyone else around the world. But also seeing SCA more authoritative on social and developmental issues like sustainability, gender equity, diversity and inclusion, which has begun, but I want to see it in 10 years at a level where it really feels real, and everybody in it, everybody participating in the coffee sector really does feel that they are a part and parcel of the association. This, of course, will be a good vehicle to keep the specialty coffee growing and thriving. I believe that 10 years is a very short time, so planning is good, but having a structure that exists that can start to get us to achieve some of these goals is key. It is important, and hence actually the need to have people represented on this board that can continue rolling out some of these agenda in a way that can be seen, can be felt, and can be applied. Having worked with the International Trade Center and the African Fine Coffees Association, the amount of information available on what can be done in Africa really is there. It's just about tapping into it and making it realizable into goals. And since we rely on these producers to keep the sector going and thriving, in 10 years' time, the Specialty Coffee Association really should be seen as the authority and the body that represents the entire global coffee sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbula. And Vera.
Where do I see the SCA in 10 years? I would love to see the SCA in 10 years to be that integrated platform for all specialty coffee actors, where technology and knowledge are at the forefront for all of these actors. And I very much believe that the SCA can reach to that level because it has, in that respect, all the actors that are part of it. And as I said many times, perhaps the SCA members, like full subscriptive members, are not everybody that we see at the SCA at the events. But they do really feel that they're a member of, they feel that they're the community of, and they feel that they represent in part the SCA. And so I do think that it has its full potential, and especially when it had this merger and it went through by really defining certain decision as having candidates from several regions. In order for the SCA to reach to that level, I do think there are a couple of components that should really focus on, and one has been said, I think, by all of us, which is education. I think education, we have reached to that level that many that we believe 5 years ago are having now and having access to that. There's still a group, unfortunately, that are not reaching all those education opportunities that offers the SCA. And if we really want to reach for being specialty coffee different from simple said commodity coffee, we need to understand better why are we not reaching those that sometimes are really wanting to. And then there's one other aspect. I do think that, as Mbula just said, there are still topics that need to be confronted more by the sector, also for this particular sector, which I really believe that the specialty coffee sector has that ability to care more versus other parts of the chain. And that's simply working on advocacy and raising awareness of the elements that this sector struggles so much. And sometimes it frustrates me dearly when we work on certain topics, as is farmer prosperity or profitability, and simply the amount of likes on this issue is not met by the standards that we work in. And so I do think that if we are able to reach to raising more awareness, and we reach to voice and be that voice of the people that really need to hurt, then we are able to reach. And perhaps maybe that's still an ideology by mine, or a positive thought by mine. I really think that we can reach to a much more equitable, distributed value chain. But for that to happen, we do need to put at the forefront within this sector and within this SCA also those particular topics. And that is indeed the gender equity, farmer prosperity, profitability, climate change. These issues need to be understood more. And my wish, and that's really wishful thinking, is that not only us as a sector, that we work in it on a day-to-day basis, but it's also, for me, key that the consumers understand what it means actually to get that cup of coffee on your table, and really understand that, you know, that $1 or whatever you're paying for is not embodying everything, all the work that's being done for the last 3 to 5 years by a farmer. We as a sector have the opportunity to get to that level where we actually increase the value of many of the activities that the sector does and explain that to the consumer. So I very much would see the full potential of the SCA being able to do so, to give more to that value of specialty coffee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Pamela.
What else is there to say? Well, I think essentially, really, I think the SCA really can become a leading light in 10 years for sustainability and positive impact in conducting our business as an industry. Right? I think we have a real opportunity to show the rest of industries in general how diversity and inclusion can drive an entire industry forward. You know, and how a global commodity like coffee can connect communities around the world in a really intimate way, actually, right? To spark conversations between consumers and producers and professionals, and then action that results in something, right? So really active, regular collaborations across countries, regions, across specialist tracks, from producer to roaster to barista to business owners. You know, and really seeing how, as an association, you know, can we increase different ways of making revenue, increasing our funding so that we can compensate our volunteers better, we can make education more accessible, as everybody has said already, right? Importantly is how do we also use technology to make things more effective and efficient across all levels, right? I think there's a real opportunity for this industry to do that. And the third thing is actually research, right? How do we expand in many more areas so that we can make better business and social impact decisions? I think because they're very different situations and different markets all across the world, right? So with data, with research, I think we can all make much better decisions. So, I think just to round up, how really being involved in the specialty coffee industry to show the world that you have an opportunity to transform lives. I mean, I say this because I'm doing it daily, right? And if my little organization in Singapore can do that from nothing, right? Imagine what we can do collectively as an entire industry in the next 10 years. So, you know, I think there's a lot of work to do, but it's exciting work. So.
Thank you very much. And then do we have a video from Asli on this one as well?
We do. Let's hear from her.
Where I see SCA in 10 years from now on, when we build a stronger communication, there will be diversification and voice of different groups. SCA will be represented by each group of coffee community. For example, producers and coffee workers will have a better education with SCA system. They will drink their own coffee at the farms. They will have water and electricity infrastructure. I think board might focus to its time, attention, and resources to these three high priorities. First one will be education at the origins and at the consumer countries. Second one will be the focus on production in each origin countries, and auditing system on SCA, education, and standards, and modifying them according to origin countries.
Wonderful. So we've heard from all the candidates, and so now I think we're going to open it up to questions from anybody who's on the webinar, whether it be for the candidates or the panelists. Correct, Vicente?
That's correct. All right, so I'm just going to look here. So nobody submitted any questions yet, and I don't see any hands up. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, but if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to submit them through the questions panel, or if you'd like to speak directly to the panelists, please click the raise hand button that you should be able to see if you have joined us on your desktop. Okay, so we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to move on to the voting process. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them now. The voting process, as we covered earlier in the webinar, voting takes place from November 1st through the 30th. And November 1st, you'll be able to visit the SCA elections website, which is open now, and you can find it at sca.coffee under About, and you'll be able to submit your ballot there. The voting process is managed by a third party, a company called UK Engage. Every member, every SCA member gets one vote. Members will be emailed their ballot directly, so keep an eye on your email. If you're not sure which email address you have on file with the SCA for your membership, please do get in touch. You can email us at membership@sca.coffee, and you can ask for your member number and what email address we have for you on file. And what our membership team will need from you is your first name, last name, the name of your company, any other information you can provide to them so they can help you out, help you find your member number and the email address they have on file for you. That would be very, very useful. Where to find the elections website? Go to sca.coffee, click on About, and right under About, you'll find 2018 board elections. And we've got a website, again, created by a third party called UK Engage. And you can go through the website, you can learn more about the candidates, find all of the information that's been released about the board elections, and that's where you'll be able to submit your ballot. So again, if you have any questions, there are 2 email addresses here for more questions about the elections. Maybe you have some questions for our candidates, and we're happy to share those with them. Email us at elections@sca.coffee. If you have questions about membership, again, that's anything from member numbers to email addresses, any information that we may have on file for you, email us at membership@sca.coffee. Okay, so that's the end of our presentation there. I'm gonna look here through the questions panel. I don't see any questions and I don't see any hands up. So I'm gonna go ahead and thank everyone who joined us today. Thanks to everybody, all of our members who joined us today. We wanna thank Asli, Yaman, Pamela, Chng, Katie Booser unfortunately could not join us today, Khalid, Mulla, Vava, Angwenyi, Vera Espindola Rafael, Mbula, Musau, and also thanks to Choi Seongil, who also could not join us today. And I want to thank our panelists. Thank you, Heather Perry, for joining us today. Christina Maynell, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And Rick Reinhardt, thank you for joining us. Again, the recording of this webinar will be available on SCA News. Thank you all very much for joining us. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Take care.
Night.
Good night.